neither an effect nor a cause, it is neither the skandhas nor not skandhas, nor is it other than the combination. 82. There is something that is not to be seen by the discrimination of its being, nor is it to be known as non-existent. Such is the self-essence of all things. 83. Accompanied by being, there is non-being. Accompanied by non-being there is being. As thus non-being is not to be known by itself, being is not to be discriminated. 84. Those who cling to mere words, not knowing what is meant by an ego-soul and egolessness, are immersed in dualism. They are corrupted and lead the ignorant to corruption. 85. When they see my religion liberated from all detriments, they behold properly, they do not defile the world leaders. 76. At that time again, Mahamati the Bodhisattva-Mahasattva said this to the Blessed One. Tell me, Blessed One. Tell me, Sugata. Mention is made in the canonical books of the Blessed Ones being subject neither to birth nor to destruction. And it is declared by you that this being subject neither to birth nor to destruction is an epithet of the Tathagata. Now, Blessed One, by this being subject neither to birth nor to destruction, is a non-entity meant? And is it another name for the Tathagata, as is declared by the Blessed One? It is taught by the Blessed One that all things are subject neither to birth nor to destruction because they are not to be seen in the dualistic aspect of being and non-being. If all things are unborn, Blessed One, no one can take hold of anything because nothing has ever been born. And if that is another name of something, what can this something be, Blessed One? The Blessed One said, then, Mahamati, listen well and reflect well within yourself. I will tell you. Certainly, Blessed One, said Mahamati the Bodhisattva-Mahasattva and gave ear to the Blessed One. The Blessed One said this to him. Mahamati, the Tathagata is not a non-entity. Nor is he to be conceived as all things are, as neither born nor disappearing. Nor is he to look around for causation in order to appear before others. Nor is he without signification. I refer to him as unborn. Nevertheless, Mahamati, there is another name for the Tathagata when his Dharmakaya assumes a will body. This is what goes beyond the comprehension of the philosophers, Sravakas, Pratyekabuddhas, and those bodhisattvas still abiding in the seventh stage. The unborn, Mahamati, is synonymous with the Tathagata. For instance, Mahamati, Indra is sometimes known as Sakra, sometimes as Purandara. Hand is Asta, Kara, Pani. The body is Tanu, Deha, Sarira. The earth is Prithivi, Bhumi, Vasundhara. The sky is Ka, Akasa, Gagana. All these objects each in its way are designated with many names, synonymously used and discriminated. But on account of these different names different objects are not to be imagined, nor are they without their self-nature. The same, Mahamati, can be said of myself. For I come within the range of hearing of ignorant people. In this world of patience, under many names, amounting to 100,000 times 3 asamkayas, and they address me by these names not knowing that they are all other names of the Tathagata. Of these, Mahamati, some recognize me as the Tathagata, some as the self-existent one, some as leader, as Vinayaka, as Paranayaka, as Buddha, as Rishi, as Bull-King, as Brahma, as Vishnu, as Isvara, as original source, as Kapila, as Bhutanta, as Arishta, as Nemina, as Soma, as the sun, as Rama, as Vyasa, as Sukha, as Indra, as Balan, as Varuna, as is known to some. While others recognize me as one who is never born and never passes away. As emptiness, as suchness, as truth, as reality, as limit of reality, as the Dharmadhatu, as nirvana, as the eternal, as sameness, as non-duality, as the undying, as the formless, as causation, as the doctrine of Buddha cause, as emancipation, as the truth of the path, as the all-knower, as the victor, as the will-made mind. Mahamati. Thus in full possession of 100,000 times 3 asamkhyaas of appellations. Neither more nor less, in this world and in other worlds, I am known to the peoples, like the moon in water which is neither in it nor out of it. But this is not understood by the ignorant who have fallen into the dualistic conception of continuity. 1 Though they honor, praise, esteem, and revere me, they do not understand well the meaning of words and definitions. They do not distinguish ideas. They do not have their own truth. And, clinging to the words of the canonical books, they imagine that not being subject to birth and destruction means a non-entity, and fail to see that it is one of the many names of the Tathagata, as in the case of Indra, Sakra, Purandara. They have no confidence in the texts where the self-standing truth is revealed. Since in their study of all things they follow mere words as expressed in the texts, trying thereby to gain into the meaning. Thus, Mahamati, these deluded ones would declare that as words are so is meaning, that meaning is not otherwise than words. For what reason? Because meaning has no body of its own and cannot be different from words. That the unintelligent declare words to be identical with meaning, is due to their ignorance as to the self-nature of words. They do not know, Mahamati, that words are subject to birth and death whereas meaning is not. Mahamati, words are dependent on letters, but meaning is not. As meaning is freed from existence and non-existence, it is not born, it has no substratum. And, Mahamati, the Tathagatas do not teach the doctrine that is dependent upon letters. As to letters, their being or non-being is not attainable. It is otherwise with the thought that is never dependent on letters. Again, Mahamati, anyone that discourses on a truth that is dependent on letters is a mere prattler because truth is beyond letters. For this reason, Mahamati, it is declared in the canonical text by myself and other Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that not a letter is uttered or answered by the Tathagatas. For what reason? Because truths are not dependent on letters. It is not that they never declare what is in conformity with meaning. When they declare anything, it is according to the discrimination of all beings. If Mahamati, the truth is not declared one in words, the scriptures containing all truths will disappear, and when the scriptures disappear there will be no Buddhas, Sravakas, Pratyeka Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas. And when there is no one to teach, what is to be taught and to whom? For this reason, then, Mahamati, the Bodhisattva-Mahasattva is not to become attached to the words of the canonical texts. Mahamati, owing to the functioning of the minds of sentient beings, the canonical texts sometimes deviate from their straightforward course. Religious discourses are given by myself and other Tathagatas, Arhats, fully enlightened ones in response to varieties of faiths on the part of beings. In order to remove them from the bondage of the Chitta, Manas and Manovijnana, and not for the attainment and establishment of self-realization which issues from noble wisdom. When there is the recognition of the fact that all things are characterized with imagelessness and that there is nothing in the world but what is seen of the mind itself, there is the discarding of the dualistic discrimination. Therefore, Mahamati, let the Bodhisattva-Mahasattva be in conformity with the meaning, and not with the letter. Mahamati, a son or a daughter of a good family who conforms himself or herself to the letter will ruin his or her understanding of ultimate reality and will cause others to fail to recognize the truth. Continuing to cherish wrong views, one's own assertion is confounded by the philosophers who do not understand well what characterizes all the stages of the Dharma, and who have no adequate knowledge as to the interpretation of words. If they well understand what characterizes all the stages of the Dharma and are adequately equipped with the interpretation of words and expressions, and have a good understanding of the meaning and reason of all things, they will properly enjoy by themselves the bliss of formlessness while others are properly established in the Mahayana. Being properly embraced in the Mahayana, they will, Mahamati, be in the embrace of the Buddhas, Sravakas, Pratyekabuddhas, and Bodhisattvas. Being embraced by the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Pratyekabuddhas, and Sravakas, they will in turn embrace all beings. Embracing all beings, they will embrace the good Dharma. The good Dharma being embraced, the Buddha seeds will not be destroyed. When the Buddha seeds are not destroyed, the excellent abodes will be attained. When thus these excellent abodes are attained, Mahamati, the Bodhisattva-Mahasattvas will see to it that all beings, being established in the Mahayana, are born there in the excellent abodes, and fortifying themselves with the tenfold supernatural power and assuming various forms. They will discourse on the Dharma in conformity to its true nature, and with a thorough knowledge of various wishes and characteristics of beings. Now the true nature of things is characterized by non-differentiation and trueness. It is neither coming nor departing, it puts a stop to all idle reasonings, and it is called the truth. Therefore, Mahamati, let son or daughter of a good family take good heed not to get attached to words as being in perfect conformity with meaning, because the truth is not of the letter. Be not like the one who looks at the fingertip. For instance, Mahamati, when a man with his fingertip points at something to somebody, the fingertip may be taken wrongly for the thing pointed at. In like manner, Mahamati, the people belonging to the class of the ignorant and simple-minded, like those of a childish group, are unable even unto their death to abandon the idea that in the fingertip of words there is the meaning itself, and will not grasp ultimate reality because of their intent clinging to words which are no more than the fingertip to them. To give another illustration, Mahamati, boiled rice is the proper food for infants, to whom suppose somebody gave uncooked food to eat. In this case, this one is to be considered to be out of his sense because of his not knowing how to prepare food properly. So it is with that which is neither born nor destroyed, Mahamati. It will not manifest itself to anybody unless he is well disciplined in it. Therefore, you should most assuredly discipline yourself in this and not be like one who grasping his own fingertip sees the meaning there. For this reason, Mahamati, you should energetically discipline yourself to get at the meaning itself. Mahamati, the meaning is alone with itself and is the cause of nirvana. Words are bound up with discrimination and are the carrier of transmigration. Meaning, Mahamati, is attained from much learning, and this much learning, Mahamati, means to be conversant with meaning and not with words. To be conversant with meaning means to ascertain the view which is not at all associated with any philosophical school and which will keep not only yourself but others from falling into the false views. Being so, Mahamati, this is said to be learned much in meaning. Therefore, let seekers for meaning reverently approach those who are much learned in it. But those who are attached to words as being in accord with meaning, they are to be left to themselves and to be shunned by truth seekers. 77. Further, Mahamati, to whom the Buddha's spiritual powers were added, said, there is nothing specially distinguishable in the Buddha's teaching of no birth and no annihilation. Why? Because all the philosophers also declare, Blessed One, their cause is to be unborn and not to be annihilated. And you, too, Blessed One, declare space, aprati samkhya and nirvana to be unborn and not to be annihilated. The philosophers declare, Blessed One, that the world rises from causal agencies and causation, while the Blessed One too declares that the world takes its rise from ignorance, desire, deed, discrimination, which work in accordance with the law of causation. Both thus refer to causation, the difference being in names only. So with the rise of external objects, both you and they assume external causation. Thus, there is no distinction between your teaching, Blessed One, and that of the philosophers. With them there are 9 substances which are regarded as unborn and not to be annihilated. Atoms, Supreme Soul, Isvara, Creator, etc. While, Blessed One, you assert that all things are neither born nor annihilated as their being and non-being is unattainable. Now as the elements are indestructible, their self-nature is neither born nor annihilated. While following various courses of transformation, what constitutes their essential nature is not abandoned. Though your notion of the elements may differ in form, Blessed One, it is what has been imagined by all the philosophers as well as by yourself. For this reason this teaching of yours has nothing distinctive. If there is anything distinctive by which the teaching of the Tathagata excels that of the philosophers, pray tell me. Blessed One. If there is nothing distinctive in your own teaching, we can say that there is something of Buddhahood in the teaching of all the philosophers, because in them there is a cause pointing to no birth and no annihilation. It was declared by the Blessed One that many Tathagatas are not born simultaneously in the same district in one world. But if the rule of cause and effect with regard to being and non-being holds true, and your own teaching leaves nothing contradicting behind, there must be many Tathagatas rising at the same time and in the same locality. The Blessed One said, Mahamati, my teaching of no birth and no annihilation is not like that of philosophers who also speak of no birth and no annihilation. Nor is it like the doctrine of birth and impermanency. Why? Because, Mahamati, that to which the philosophers ascribe the characteristics of no birth and no change is the self-nature of all things. But mine is not that which falls into the dualism of being and non-being. Mine, Mahamati, goes beyond the dualism of being and non-being. Has nothing to do with birth, abiding, and destruction. Is neither existent nor non-existent. How is it not non-existent? Because multitudinousness of objects is to be seen as like Maya and a dream. I say that it is not non-existent. How is it not existent? Because there are no characteristic signs to be perceived as belonging to the self-nature of things. They are seen in one sense as individual objects and not seen as such in another sense. Again they are something in one sense graspable and in another sense ungraspable. For this reason, things are existent and non-existent. But when it is understood that there is nothing in the world but what is seen of the mind itself, discrimination no more rises, and one is thus established in his own abode which is the realm of no work. The ignorant work and discriminate but not the wise. Mahamati, the doings of the ignorant are unrealities discriminated, realities confounded. They are like the city of the Gandharvas, like magically created figures. To illustrate, Mahamati, here is a city of the Gandharvas where children see magically created people, merchants, and many others, going in or coming out, and imagine that they are really people going in and coming out. It is owing to this discrimination characterized by perturbation that such takes place. It is the same, Mahamati, with the ignorant that they have a confused perception of birth and no birth. There is really nothing made or unmade, like the rising of magically created people. For magically created people are neither born nor annihilated, because here is no question whatever as to their existence or non-existence. In like manner, all things have nothing to do with birth and destruction, except that the ignorant cherishing false ideas imagine the birth and annihilation of objects. It is, however, not so with the wise. By false ideas it is meant that objects are not judged as they are in themselves. They are nothing else. When reality is discriminated other than it is, there is the clinging to the idea that all things have their self-nature and what is alone by itself is not seen. And when what is alone by itself is not seen, there is no disappearance of discrimination. For this reason, Mahamati, an insight into formlessness excels, and not an insight into form. As form causes another birth, it excels not. By formlessness, Mahamati, is meant the disappearance of discrimination. No birth and no annihilation, one this I call nirvana. By nirvana, Mahamati, is meant the looking into the abode of reality as it really is in itself. And when, along with the turning back of the entire system of mentation, there is the attainment of self-realization by means of noble wisdom, which belongs to the Tathagatas, I call it nirvana. 78. So it is said. 86. In order to remove the notion of birth and to accomplish that of no birth, I teach the doctrine of no cause. But this is not understood by the ignorant. 87. This all is unborn, but that does not mean that there are no objects. They are seen to be like the city of the Gandharvas, a dream, and Maya. Objects are here, but causeless. 88. Tell me how things are unborn, without self-nature one and empty. When things are seen by transcendental knowledge, they are not subject to combination and are unobtainable. Therefore, I declare that they are empty, unborn, and without self-nature. 89. 100 unseated one by one combination is there, the world appears to exist, but nothing is really existing. It is not as it is conceived by the philosophers. When combination is dissolved, nothing is left to be seen.